How did school bus sales and student transportation statistics this year compare to the prior one? Let's talk about that in just a moment. Welcome to your first 2025 episode of The Route, School Bus Fleet's content series that keeps you in the know. I'm Amanda Huggett, your Executive Editor. Today we're going to cover news and trends in the school transportation industry for the first time this year. And we're going to be joined by School Bus Fleet's new Editorial Advisory Board members, where they're going to take the mic to share with you their own outlook for the new year ahead. So let's get rolling. Our first stop is some industry stats that we gathered while putting together our most recent fact book. We contacted each of the school bus manufacturers and collected their 2024 sales year numbers. Compared to 2023, this past year did see a slight decrease of about 2% in total sales, with just over 40,000 sold. But what's interesting about this is that there was a 16% increase in Type D buses sold over last year and a 15% decrease in Type A's. Now, Type C's represented about 70% of all sales, as it typically does. We're not sure if this trend will continue, but we are eager to see what happens this year. Now, we also broke down the sales numbers by type and total in both the US and Canada too, so head over to our website for the full breakdown. Another set of stats that we gathered for the fact book was the annual state-by-state student transportation numbers. For the 2023 to 24 school year, there were just over 451,000 total yellow buses, over 323,000 total drivers, and over 21 million students transported. But one fact stuck out to us more than anything else, and that was the percentage of students transported. This past school year, it reached the lowest we've ever seen since tracking at just 50%. The prior year, it was 53%. This intrigued us, so for the January 2025 edition of School Bus Fleet, we dug into what we think might be behind this decline in ridership. In short, it's a combination of factors: a rise in alternative transportation, parents driving their own kids to school, a rise in homeschooling, even some population trends. So please make sure to check out our December fact book for all the stats and our January issue for a detailed analysis. Now let's roll over to our friends at the NSTA, who did a theoretic happy dance last month when news broke that the FMCSA granted another 2-year extension for the CDL skills test. This means that for another couple years, all CDL applicants seeking a school bus endorsement can continue to skip the engine compartment portion of the pre-trip vehicle inspection skills testing. That's a mouthload, but it's informally known as the under the hood requirement. Exemptions are restricted to intrastate school bus operation only. The exemption was initially granted in 2022, and since then, 13 states have adopted it at the state level. NSTA estimates that about 1,200 school bus drivers have been licensed using the exemption thus far. And with about 70 students per bus, that's 84,000 children receiving transportation. Our next stop is with telematics provider Zonar Systems, which was recently acquired by GPS Trackit. The latter offers Internet of Things and GPS tracking technologies for fleets and is a company of Inverness Graham. The merger brings together their expertises for a shared mission. Zonar will operate as part of the GPS Trackit portfolio while continuing to do what it does best. Now let's stop by the EPA. The federal agency announced 70 tentative applicant selections for its first Clean Heavy Duty Vehicles Grant Program. Applicants span across 27 states, 3 tribal nations, and 1 territory. In all, they will receive over $735 million. This program aims to replace older Class 6 and 7 ICE vehicles that still operate on dated emission standards and replaces them with newer, cleaner versions. The EPA said that over 70% of the selections will support the purchase of clean school buses. Districts in Boston, St. Louis, Jackson, Mississippi, and others in Connecticut, New York, and Arizona were selected. You can find the full breakdown on our website. All right, let's pay a visit to WRI and the Electric School Bus Initiative. Speaking of the clean heavy-duty funding, WRI has now estimated that thanks to EPA funding programs, 1,634 electric school buses will soon be hitting the road. And so far, 8,000 electric school buses have been funded through the Clean School Bus program. Now, we may not know what the future of such programs hold moving forward, but we will be watching this closely, and we're eager to see what happens to adoption as we move ahead. Now, let's stop to look at what may be ahead for 2025. I hope you'll check out our January issue of School Bus Fleet, where we analyzed 5 key trends that we think you need to know. We're talking about the driver shortage, ridership trends, electrification, telematics, and safety. It's a story you don't want to miss, and it's now available on our website. And in other news you may have missed earlier this month, we just announced our newly revitalized Editorial Advisory Board. We're so excited to welcome 9 industry experts who you can trust to guide us into the future. There's much more to come on that front, but for now, meet them in a post on our website and listen to their perspectives right now as they each offer their thoughts on what 2025 may hold. Enjoy.
Well, I think with 2025, obviously, we're going to see a new administration come into power in DC, and I think there's a lot of question marks as to what's going to happen. I look for quite a bit of the funding for electric vehicles to maybe diminish or even possibly disappear. I hope that doesn't happen, but it's certainly, I think, a very real possibility. And that's one of the big things I think that we need to be concerned about is overall funding. Of course, there's been I call it more of a threat than anything to eliminate the Department of Education. I think that would be a very huge mistake if that is done. While every state, of course, has a Department of Education, I think that we do need a national Department of Education to kind of, oversee the whole thing and put all the other states underneath that umbrella. So I don't know if that's something that will come to pass or not. I think it's going to be harder to eliminate than what perhaps those advocating for it think it will be. But if that happens, I think we're going to see some huge problems in education, which obviously will affect school transportation.
For 2025, I hope that there is continued recruiting of new drivers to fill that need. There's been a shortage across the country, and I think we need to keep our foot on the gas per se to fill the driver's seat. And also, I think we're going to continue to see integration of electric vehicles, probably different levels in different parts of the country, but I think we'll still see us moving in that direction.
Renewable diesel. Yeah, so here in New York, we're faced with a mandate to electrify our fleets 100% by 2035. But starting in 2027, no vehicle can be sold other than a zero emissions vehicle. Let me correct that, which currently the only option is an electric vehicle. And while I personally, while our company, while the New York Contractors Association, that we support the idea of electrification, certainly, and cleaning or doing less damage to the air is probably the better way to say it, and the real way. Just those timelines aren't realistic from many factors. Again, the almighty, from financial to infrastructure, it's just not not a realistic expectation. And I do believe that before 27, there will be some change in that legislation, but that's just, if you're looking for a prediction. I do believe it will, probably won't happen until sometime in 26, but I believe there will be change on that. And renewable diesel is just something I'm learning of relatively recently, but see it as a way of getting closer to the goal, because I believe the reduction in emissions is between 50 and 75 to 80%. So is it 100%? No. But can we get, less regular diesel vehicles on the road a lot faster? I believe so.
So I think one of the things that I'm watching and talking with a lot of people about is the way they figure out who exactly is going to ride the bus. With all of the driver shortage situation that we've encountered, and it's getting better in a lot of places. All right, getting better in a lot of places, but not everywhere. And there is a renewed interest, I think, in making sure that the buses are being used efficiently, and that means making sure that you're not holding seats for kids that are really not riding the bus, right? Not cramming them so full that kids are hanging out the windows, but doing a good job of being responsible of filling up the bus without making the ride too awful long, and therefore needing fewer drivers to cover all the routes and that kind of thing. So that's one of the things that I tend to look forward. There is always we've been gathering data on stop arm violations for a long time, and I think we've got enough data to know that it's just not going to stop anytime soon, and so we still have to be really vigilant about that. And that involves some technologies that are available. It involves processes. It involves a lot of training, and we've got to make sure that parents and kids and drivers are all on the same page, especially in those situations where the kid has to cross the bus, where the kid has to cross the street to catch the bus. Despite best efforts in routing, that still has to happen in some places. And so, continually looking for best practices and ways to improve training for students and drivers and all that. So won't ever stop looking at that stuff.
Big thing I think right now is just seeing the dwindling budgets of school districts because of dwindling enrollment right now. That is kind of happening not just here in Colorado, but you're hearing that from many directors who I'm talking to across the country. They're speaking towards budgets being really, really squeezed. And now they're trying to make decisions on what they need versus what they want. It's easy in the past where you had ESSER funding, you had all the different things that were coming at them, and folks were taking advantage of it, or you had all these different grants that were out there. And part of it, I think, is where folks need to understand there's a lot of federal monies or state monies out there that people can find, but so many folks are so focused on, I call it the blinders of their district or what they see as the limitations, and not really expand out. And I think it's something that maybe an article to help get people thinking about how you can fund certain things. Like if you need cameras, if you need certain things like GPS, top arm. There's, like in the state of New York, what we learned as we were working and doing some work in New York is they actually have funding for certain things like some of the consulting work we do. But I think right now, as we get to 25, going into the 25 school year, 25-26 school year, budgets are being pressed. And I think it's just a situation of how do we help folks find monies that are more earmarked for your department versus earmarked for the entire district. Because if it comes in from a district standpoint, you're not going to get the monies. You're going to go to the classroom. If it's earmarked for transportation, you'll be able to at least get that and be able to use it for the purpose of what you're trying to use it for.
Well, I think the next big thing is I know that there's still a lot of districts that have not gone fully implemented, their GPS turn by turns and all that. That is the next big thing. And I see it for myself for how amazing it is for my drivers, and how much more of a tool it is. I think that really is the next big thing. is getting that. I mean, every district should have this. And it's amazing that, and I know it costs money, but it is so worth it. It's so worth it for the people that use it. And it's so easy to use. And so, I mean, whatever product that you go with, something that's going to help with the safety of the kids, that needs to be that forefront. And I think that's the next big thing, really, is getting that on and getting school boards and everybody, superintendents, on board with that, because that's the next big thing.
Well, for 2025, I think coming through the pandemic, having time to actually get back into moving forward, okay? Because we kind of put the brakes on a little bit for a couple of years, right? So coming back in and getting, taking a year to get settled, and now it's time to move forward. It is time to go out there and look at some of the laws that govern our industry. Take the heartbeat of our industry and say, what do we want it to look like? What direction do we want to go in? And make some good moves to make that happen. Right now, school bus drivers and the lack thereof school bus drivers is a big issue. I think we are starting to see a break and getting more people interested in being bus drivers. Now we need to figure out how to keep them. I think that's going to be one of the things is looking at how we keep bus drivers. And the big thing right now is training. How do we train our bus drivers and our bus attendants to be able to transport students with disabilities and to recognize their needs, recognize how they need to support the individual child versus, there's not a cookie cutter kind of way to transport children. Each of these kids need individual care, and they may require individual care. And I think right now we need to concentrate on training our drivers and attendants on strategies and what strategies you can use with a child that has disabilities so that you can support that child and keep them calm on the bus. When children are not understood, sometimes it does cause difficulties on the bus. And, a lot of times that difficulties causes us to lose drivers as well. So I think that's an area that's wide open right now for us to create some training and then get it to the front line, which is our drivers and aides.
2025 is exciting. We get to return to National Congress on school transportation. So it's been a decade since that has occurred, and seeing how much has changed and how quickly things change is going to be eye-opening, and how we move things forward. We've come through a global pandemic in the last 10 years. We have seen how we hire, how we train change. And 2025 is going to be no different than any of those other years, as we continue to get a grasp and continue to wrap our minds around the things that we've done to move our operations forward. I think we're going to continue to see alternative fuels be relevant. I think we're going to continue to see training and accountability be held at the highest standards, and none of those are bad things. And it's all about adapting and moving forward, and we have to do that to be sustainable.
Hopefully you found this interesting and helpful as you navigate this new year. Please know that we're here for you. So if there's a topic we're not talking about that we should, please reach out to let us know. We also want to be sure that we deliver you what you need. I would also like to extend a couple more personal invitations. If you know an inspiring district or state transportation director, please nominate them for our Administrator of the Year award. We're also looking for inspiring up-and-comers under 40 for our Trailblazers Awards. Both are open for nominations through January 31st, and we'll link below how to nominate. Finally, we hope to get out and meet more of you, our readers and our viewers. So if you're near me in the upper Midwest, please let me know if I can come by and visit you in person. We'll also be on the road for a few conferences throughout the year, so I'd love to fit in a few more tours and interviews for any of you who are not in my neck of the woods. And you can always email us anytime with your suggestions and your feedback. I really do hope to hear from you. And that's it for now. But you can find more school bus headlines and hot topics on our website anytime. Be sure to follow our YouTube channel and connect with us on social media. We'll see you again soon for more episodes of The Route. Thanks for riding with us.